Today was joining with Simon Peter Green, tour manager, music extraordinaire, activist and photographer, who is going to be playing our GreenScreen event on the 23rd of July in Hyde Park Book Club. So you're working on a book of photography for Gods of Wrath. Like, the photographs are quite intimate, aren't they, and sort of up close with Wu-Tang Clan.
I'm rerunning the tour on my Instagram from my iPhone archive.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so I know we would have been today. We're in Berlin.
Oh wow.
Oh, times
2019.
What was your favourite city, would you say, on your tour? Or was there too many?
Oh, I want to declare neutrality on that because, the Wu-Tang audience, the relationship with the band and Wu-Tang audience is a deep one. It's an emotional one. So, what I'm trying to say is that every audience bring a wall of love, which is consistent. And, so I enjoy every show. I've never seen a bum Wu-Tang Clan show, and I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. It's just always crazy and brilliant. But in terms of relationship, it's like audiences are different. My favorite ever place, I was born in Brixton Academy, Wu-Tang Clan. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That wasn't on that tour, but London is always a good show. Brixton is like the blackest audience there's going to be on the whole tour of Europe, any tour of Europe. It's like a home game. And everybody loved Wu-Tang in that way. And the wall of love at Brixton, for example, is extraordinary, which is difficult to do in, say, Helsinki, because, I don't know, there's not that cultural connection, or a deep one, but they still love Wu-Tang. It's just different. I love any Scottish audiences, for example, they love a party. It's always going to be nice in a kind of energy way. Manchester the same. I mean, Manchester is a massive kind of working class hip hop environment. Probably the second strongest hip hop market in the UK after London. And of course, Manchester show always extraordinary. Dublin, everybody's so friendly. I was talking to somebody the other day about Ghostface Killer, and in a way that his favourite city to go to in Europe is Cork, in Ireland. Cork.
I'd love to go. I'd love to go to Ireland.
And we hardly get to Cork. We sometimes do. It's not really on the mainstream circuit. It's kind of a little bit off the beaten track, but we do play Cork because, for other reasons. It makes economic sense. If you're going to go to Dublin, you might as well try and do a show in Cork, right?
I bet like the alternative that you don't expect. Like, yeah. It'll be good to go them places as well.
Yeah, and the fans, we try to do that, but this is down to the promoter often. Wu-Tang would love to play many places they've never played.
Yeah.
But a promoter won't come forward. We can't do much about that. Sometimes we help a promoter, beyond normal, because we see they're doing a great job in their market. I mean, Croatia spring to mind, or, Eastern Europe. You have to kind of help some promoters to establish, but we tend to stick, we're stuck with the promoters that come forward.
Yeah. I know a lot of fans tend to come forward and sort of like in the smaller places that you wouldn't necessarily think about doing a gig, and they'd really appreciate sort of a band or a group sort of going more out of the norm, sort of away from like London, Manchester, Berlin, and nearer where they are.
Exactly. I mean, I think I've discussed already with you that thing I'm probably doing in Dundee.
Yeah.
2 major shows, and it's like, that's how I feel about Dundee. It's not really on the normal circuit. Some artists go there, but it's not on the established circuit. So, this is like necessary work to reach the fans and the people that can't get to shows. The Gods of Rap was special because probably one of the strongest hip hop tours ever produce. You know, I know it's a little bit of an old Duffers show in a way, a nostalgia thing, but then at the same time it's not, because I was saying that I saw the audiences at Wu-Tang were young.
Yeah.
And I was taken aback. Like we're seeing now young people say that you were 3 years old and your parents love Wu-Tang and they're playing 36 Chambers and you grow up with that. It's become like a family thing. And I was questioning, you know, I was taken aback by the age of some of the audiences, very young. It's refreshing. But I had to talk to them, and most of the responses were that, you know, I grew up with this music. I love Wu-Tang. You know, they're not there because they just love Wu-Tang, because they've been brought up in an environment where Wu-Tang is played.
Yeah.
So it's a very real kind of love. So all I can say, it's a privilege to work with Wu-Tang because there's always a wall of love.
So
everywhere we go.
You get into sort of.
Pardon?
How did you get into taking the photographs for the Gods of Rap tour? How did you sort of?
Okay, Gods of Rap. So I was studying a photography degree in Coventry. Around Christmas time, the tour was in May. Around Christmas time, Divine, who's the manager of Wu-Tang, he called me for his office, LA. He says, Simon, we've got this massive arena tour at last. You know, it's something that we've been working towards for years. And finally it's happened. And I already knew it's happened. I'd seen some of the early rushes of marketing and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. But Divine is like, you know, I need you. Can you come with us? You know, your family and that. He's like, I said, okay. So I said, what do you want me to do? He's like, well, they have a tour manager, Tarif, a new tour manager who replaced me. He's like, I need a production manager. So he's just trying to get me involved. So I end up doing things like I sorted out some tour buses and, you know, odds and ends where I could. And then the whole thing started to get pretty chaotic as we got closer to the first date. And I'm kind of like, I called Divine and say, hey, mate, I said, look, I'm doing this degree, not for the fun of it. I'm going to finish this. So I'm starting to feel that this is pulling me away. You know, I'm not going to just drop everything to join the circus. I said, I have to pull because my deadline is just right on the tour. And it's just too distracting. So I kind of backed out, and Divine was like, look, come to the first show in London. The first show's in London at Wembley. So it's like, come down, say hi to the guys, talk about old times. Promise? And I'm like, you know, yeah, that's what we'll do. So that's what I did. So I get to the first show in Wembley, which I couldn't get in because I wasn't on the guest list. Oh my God. Anyway, I got in. And Divine come to greet me. He's like, hey, Simon, it's so nice to see you, your family. You know, this is what we've been working towards. He's like, I'm so pleased you come. I'm just thinking, well, why wouldn't I come? It's like Wembley, you know, a great show to start the tour because, you know, it's like I was getting messages, Simon, get me guest list. Like me, I'm not even in the show. You know, it's like, I can't do nothing. It's like you couldn't get a ticket for love nor money. So I know that so many people couldn't get in the show, but those that did, it was like hip hop royalty came, you know, everybody that's I've worked with over the years or whatever and is involved with that genre, they had to come. It's like a religious experience. It's like something you couldn't really miss. Then plus the fans on top of that. So it was a special show because, you know, it's like half the London hip hop scene were in the building. And I saw so many people I knew and that I hadn't seen for a while and all those kind of things. Just awesome. Yeah, so Divine's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, phone wifey, because he's scared of Cheryl. And most people are. She wear the trousers. He's like, as long as she's happy, phone her. If she says yes, jump on the tour. I'm like, I started, like, anyway, I could have done it date-wise because I'd finished my submission. It was like, it's first day of the holiday, second day of the holiday after my submission. So I was free as a bird in a way. But I'm like, I can't afford to come with you guys. You're going 5-star. It's like, I'm not. He's like, no, I'll pay. He's like, you're on the crew. He's like, I've got a bed for you. I've got flights for you. I've got hotels, all of that. He said, just come. He said, and I'll pay you. I said, I'm like, well, I don't like to just hang out. So I'm like, I haven't really got a job. I ain't really got a job. He's like, right, just back up to Reef, the new tour manager, because it's new for him. And it's quite a big, arena tour is not normal anyway. And I've done quite a few, but it's like, yeah, so I'm like, he's a proud man. He don't need me micromanaging him. And that ain't going to work at all. He's like, he's like, no. He's like, just watch his back. If you get under stress, just jump in and help him. And he's like, oh, and you're studying photography. Have you got your camera? I'm like, of course. He's like, right, you can be the tour photographer. That'll be your job. And I'm like, okay. I said, trouble is, because as ex-tour manager, production manager myself, part of my role was to keep photographers out. Yeah. I'm kind of, I know the guys ain't going to like it. Well, some of them don't care, but some of them have, it's private backstage. And I understand that, and I defend it in my role before, like I say, so I knew it's very rare for a photographer to get backstage. And there's a reason for that. It's because I keep them out as a tour manager. So it's like, I thought that would be an issue. And I said that to Divine. I said, they don't want it. He said, look, this is official Wu-Tang. I'm going to have a chat with them. You're documenting the show. He said, they better like it, kind of thing. That's your job. They better get used to it. But you're working for me. So that's cool. That's going to work. I was going to say yes anyway. I was just trying to smooth it out a bit because I'm just seeing a few problems like, oh, how am I going to pay for it? They're not going to, all of this, negative. And anyway, all that worked out. So I went on the tour.
I think that's why the project's so special as well, because it is so different and intimate to what you would usually see from photographers sort of as well.
Well, you know what? I have to accept that. I'm quite a humble, modest person, I guess. It's like, I think I've got imposter syndrome. I shouldn't really. I've come to accept that the fans that see them like the photos, and actually they love them. And I've tried to work out a reason why that might be. One is because I'm not a bad photographer. I'm not claiming to be a fantastic photographer or anything. I've got a bit of an eye, and that's based on practice or whatever. So yeah, I can handle a camera. I had a very good camera. I had a Fuji GFX, which probably means nothing to you, but it's a bit of a blunderbuss. It's big, it's heavy, it doesn't focus fast, especially in the dark. For various reasons, it's not the right camera to take. I could have taken, I don't know, most people might have took something like a Nikon 850, which can see in the dark, never misses photos. Boom, 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 boom. I've got this big old gun. So anyway, the reason it's worth taking that risk creatively, because I understood it was a risk, and I missed so many great photos because it wouldn't focus and all the rest of it. It cost me. As I imagined, it wasn't the right camera, but it kind of was because of the quality was high. So there's two reasons. I've got quite a good eye, and the camera equipment that I had was good. So that's on the way to being very strong photos. And the third thing is, of course, I'm an insider. The band trusts me. I kind of know how they roll. I'm not overwhelmed that they're gods. Like, I can work comfortably. They're friends.
Yeah.
So I have an insider's eye. I'm very interested in representation in photography. And one of the things is that I consider at all times is representation. It's like my power as a photographer to take away your power with my equipment. It's something I wrestle with. And I try to represent people as honestly as I can. So, you know, I'm amongst friends. You know, you sense that if your mate's got a camera out, it's different than if some stranger's got their camera out or somebody you don't know. This is a different experience. So, yeah, because I'm an insider, I try to represent them as you know, their character or whatever, and with honor. But they trusted me, you know, so I was able to get shots that probably nobody else could get, to be honest, or not many people could get. So for that reason, some of the images are strong, you know, never before seen kind of thing. It's fresh. It's a fresh perspective. And on the back of that, of course, the final thing is as a tour and production manager, I'm interested in the show and the way things roll and are organized. This is my life. So I see things that maybe a photographer who isn't a production manager with that experience doesn't see. I mean, my designer was saying stuff like that. He said the depth of the archive is just fantastic. He said, we're seeing photos that we wouldn't see from other photographers. You know, we would probably think, why the fuck are you taking a photo of that flight case? You know, like the B-roll, the environment, the back, you know, interests you as event managers, interests me. What the till looked like, well, who cares? But it's like I have a different eye because I see the show. Yeah, the way the book has been put together, because there has to be a narrative, which is down to things like curation and, you know, the concept of what the work is trying to do, because it could go a number of ways, I guess. But my thing was, I want to show the work, you know, the stuff, and that is the stuff that the audience don't see, really, because everything is on stage. So, you know, there's a million photos of Wu-Tang on stage in the world. There aren't any of them on a shuttle bus at an airport. You know, these kind of things. So I wanted to show, you know, I'm working with gods. They are gods. But God's just ordinary people. Oh, God, this sounds like a real cliche. You know, we're out there working, people trying to earn money, feed families. And, you know, Wu, I have so much respect for Wu with that, in that regard. You know, they're about supporting their family, helping their cousin through college. You know, they don't go and buy Rolls Royces. It's like every penny go back to lift people, to try and lift people around. You know, it's fantastic. So really, you know, Wu-Tang on tour is more like a plumber going to Berlin to fix a new bathroom. You know, that's the way I wanted to. We're just doing a job the same as everybody else. Okay, the hotels are nice and the fans love and all of that is nice, but it's work. Yeah. So the essence of the book is really to show the work. Mm-hmm. You know, how we arrive, how we travel, where we stay. You know, some of the fun we have, you know, not too much fun. And then, you know, the stage show itself, of course, I couldn't exclude the stage show. That's part of it, but it's not like it's not like every shot is Wu-Tang on stage. It's between the shows. And the way we've laid the book out as well is kind of like, and my designer is fantastic, by the way, my design team, Debbie and Andrew. They're just world class, but you know, they asked me for a concept, and I have to say they've done most of it in that way. But I kept on about the work. Yeah. You know, show the work, and you know, I think it's come out really well in that regard. Yeah. So again, it's a fresh look at the band. Yeah.
It's from like a perspective that you might not see.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know how you feel as fans, but I remember. You know, I still am a fan of music, but I used to like the footage of the tour, and I was excited by the Arctics rolling down the motorway. It sounded a bit sad, really. You know, it's like band going from place to place, making people happy. Circus. You know, I was always fascinated by that stuff when I was younger. But you didn't really see much of it.
Yeah. Sorry though, because a lot of music videos roll with that concept. as well, of like filming the band onto like at the shows and then getting on the buses afterwards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a good concept and a good.
I mean, the way I work as well, it's like I'm not frightened of production. You know, as event managers, this applied to you. But, you know, I work with some, you know, that sort of corporate side, but some clients don't. They want the production to be invisible. Now, I never got that as a production manager because it's an element of the occasion. And so you end up trying to hide the production behind white screens and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I always think that the production is part of the show. But maybe that's because I'm a geek.
It's nice
and,
to look into it, though, I think. I
yeah, like inside the machine.
Yeah. Little bits that go into making sure stuff that you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah. So I like to see the sound guy out front of house twiddling his knobs. You know, it's all part of the theatre of the event.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the audience will feel that way as well. So I do get as a fan that shit can be interesting because it's so rare, but actually it is interesting. So it's like, I want to see a picture of a flight case. Well, actually, it's not that fucking boring. You know, it's like, it's a nice thing. But, you know, that was my approach. I'm not afraid to show the workings. And I think deep down that some people are interested in that. It's come out really nice in that way. I'm very happy with it. I can't believe I made it, actually. When I look at it, I'm like, this must be somebody else.
It's great.
Yeah. Surprising.
Do you have any
so the
memories from the tour that you've included in the book?
Yes, I have written memories in the book. Not many. Look, listen. I am in this position because of trust.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So I have to be very cautious about sharing collective memories with outsiders. Because I don't want to disrespect the band in any way. I don't want people to read it the wrong way. It's too delicate. And I'm certainly not one that's going to dish any dirt about backstage. You know, it's like, and to be fair with Wu-Tang, not a lot. People's perception might be different. Yeah. But they are good professional musicians who are on the road trying to earn money. It's as simple as that. And now they have enough experience to roll, you know, quite professionally to get the work done. So really, you know, there's a perception from the audience that we're crazy party, and maybe when they were younger, this is different, right? You know, when you're 24 and you're out on the road and you got as much drink as you want and you got, you know, whatever, everyone thinks you're a hero or whatever, it's different, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's the same for everyone, sort of, you know, when you're younger and then party.
Yeah.
Like that. So it's just like they are, you know, normal.
I mean, not that we have, I don't want to talk about parties in a way, but we do have the occasional party, of course. But I don't engage with the parties. I couldn't, you know, I'm the guy that had to get up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, you can't sustain a 12-week tour if you're going to party every night.
You've got to look after yourself, definitely.
Yeah, and it is quite challenging to look after yourself on the road, especially, you know, certain things like sleep is very hard to get. And food sometimes is quite hard to get, you know, the things that are going to keep you going. So, yeah, I never partied. I mean, when I first started Wu-Tang Clan, they used to try and get me to the parties and stuff. And I'm like, no. They're like, no, you have to come sign this part. And I'm like, no, I'm going to bed.
That's me.
I could probably do that for 3 days, but then I'll be wiped out. You know, so I've work to do, you know, in the night as a tour manager or production manager. You don't just walk off stage and go to sleep. There's preparation and, you know, the way you work on the road or the way I work on the road, I try to work 2 days ahead. So I've advanced the tour in a way that if I didn't work 2 days ahead, it would probably work. But I reinforce in 2 days ahead. So say we're in Berlin in 2 days, I'm calling the hotel in Berlin, I'm calling the promoter, I'm calling the production manager, I'm talking to the stage guys, all these kind of things. And as a courtesy and to prepare it for the band. You know, you can't just fall from the sky and do a show, right? I know that. So the more time I give the venue and the organisers in the following cities, the better the show will be. So there's a lot of my work is normally hidden from the band because they just see me walk around the stage or talking to the sound guy and stuff you have to do at a show. But when I'm out of sight, they don't think that I'm in a hotel room, phone in the airport and, you know, these kind of stuff. Which, why would they? That's my job. But what it does mean, if I go partying, this shit not going to happen.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to happen so efficiently, you know. So, yeah, why are we talking about that? I can't even remember why we're talking about that. But it's work. I think it comes back to this thing that it is work.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm working. I'm not a member of the band. I'm not a fan. I'm not a record producer. I stay in my lane to get them to the next show safely with the right equipment and never miss a show. So I'm proud to say I've never missed a show. Ever. With anything I've done, deadlines are massively important. I can proudly say in my whole career, I've never missed a show.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I can proudly say as well that I've only been late twice, I think, in my whole career.
Wow, that's good going.
That's some good time management.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, that's astounding with Wu-Tang Clan anyway. We're notorious for being late. But hey, that's your job, right? So I'm out there to work.
Mm.
You know, I'm on the road to work, and you have fun on the way, of course.
How did you come to be the tour manager for Wu-Tang?
I still don't really know in a way. I must have this conversation, but it's okay. I was working for an extraordinary rapper who's a friend of mine. You know, through my production, I used to meet him on festivals and stuff, and you know, and I love his work. But long story short, you know, 2010, he was just about to go on a tour of Europe. You know, small tour, about 7. I think we went to France, Switzerland. I can't quite remember. And we're having this discussion. He's like, "Hey, because he's low budget. He's underground, right? So he hasn't got the resources or the money to do it kind of the right way in a cost way." But he's a very, very fair guy, Ty. He's like very honourable. So we're having this conversation. He's kind of saying, "Oh, look, got these shows in Europe. Don't know what I'm going to do. We need a tour manager." What do you think? And I'm like, he's like, "I ain't got no money." Well, he was lying because he did pay me, but he didn't have the sort of money maybe a tour manager might normally get. You know, it's all pared down. But I'm like, you know, I've never done at that time as a proper production manager. I've never really. I kind of thought I knew what the tour manager did at the show because I talk to them all the time. They come to me, you know, they've got to get their artist on. They come to the production manager. So I kind of knew what they did show side, but I didn't really know anything about the travel and, you know, the accommodation and picking up fees, all the like other stuff a tour manager do. So I said, "Look, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got an idea, but if you're stuck, I'll check my diary," kind of thing. And it was fine. And also, Ty is a great friend, but he used to work with some incredible musicians. You know, he's like Rolls-Royce production. And I knew that Richie Spavin, who I think is probably one of the best drummers in the world at the moment, that's a sweeping statement, but, you know, for me, he's certainly top 5. He's on the tour. So is Vula, you know, all the musicians, you know, Vula's one of the best backing singers in the UK, and she has been for 15 years. She worked with everybody. Fantastic artists, you know. He had Vince Helbers on keys, this guy from Amsterdam, like Legend, Flow Riders. These are all underground labels, but it's like, oh my God, the band. I would pay to go on this tour. You know, for me, it's great. I'm going to help these guys get on stage. It's just, yes. And then I watch the show. It's just the work in between. It's like a fan going out with a band. That's how I kind of thought, yeah, this sounds cool. I'll do that. Don't worry about money kind of thing. So I did that anyway. So we go and do those shows, fantastic, and we get back, and Ty's kind of like, "Oh, Simon, you're the best you're the best tour manager I've ever worked with." I say, "Well, I didn't know what I was doing. Thank you," kind of thing. I was trying. I'm going to get better, kind of thing. So like, he called me again. A month later, he's got some shows up in Germany or something. We go again, and yeah, so like meanwhile, he's around London telling people that I'm a good tour manager. Now at that time, I'm like, I didn't think I'm a production manager.
Yeah.
I've just helped my mate, It's like, so I'm not thinking anything. But I did find I enjoyed it. I like the adventure. I like being like the boss of the domain, in a way that I was in control. So normally when you're doing production, you're working for a client. It's like you're a team leader.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like that. It's like being responsible and doing it our way without having to account for it. It's like I could do what I wanted in theory and wouldn't have to account. I really quite like that. I liked hanging with a band. Something I don't do, in production, I hang with the sound engineer or whatever. We're all friends and that. But I did enjoy the artist side of it. And of course, seeing the band, it was like, and it was an adventure, firefighting every day. You make a plan, things go wrong, you have to try and you never lay down. You've got to keep, it's like a steam train, you keep going because every time you hit the stage, you get paid. Then you go to the next stage, you get paid. If you don't hit the stage, you don't get paid. Simple as that. So we're out there to get paid as well as entertain the fans. So all this, like, nothing can stop us. Solving problems and driving forward. I loved all that. So I think Ty, or some of Ty's clique, South London, are kind of connected to Wu-Tang Clan. But long story short, Divine spoke to somebody who I believe to be Eva Reese, who was Wu-Tang's agent at that time. She spoke. They're looking for a tour manager for a run of shows in Europe. They need someone special. They're fed up with European tour managers because they're a bit whack and they can't handle the pressure. That's their experience of picking up freelance tour managers is not positive because they can't handle it. So Divine's looking for somebody that can come in with a band, grow and go on this future plan.
Mm-hmm.
Not hire and fire or do one tour, see you later, or whatever. He's like looking for someone he can work with that's gonna grow with a band. My name mentioned. You got to get Simon. So I get a random phone call from New York. Hey, I understand you're a good tour manager. I'll never forget that because I'm thinking I'm not even a tour manager. When he's saying that, I'm like, I'm not even a tour.
It's a big compliment then.
Tour manager. Okay, I'll take it. I didn't say nothing. But he's like, I've got this band, New York based. We got a run of shows in Europe. He's like, I'm looking for a tour manager. And he's like, I don't need any old one. I'm fed up with, it's like, I need somebody that can cut it. And I'm told that you can. What do you think? I said, who's the band? He say, Wu-Tang Clan. I say, yes. In about 0.1 of a second. I didn't even think, how the fuck am I going to do this? I didn't even think. I'm like, yes. So Divine say, it's like, it's not up to me as a manager because Wu-Tang very democratic. He has to place it in front of a meeting, found this guy in London, what do you think? And they have to have a vote, right? So he's like, I can't. He said, look, I'm going to propose you to the meeting. I can't promise anything. It's up to the guys. Mm-hmm. He'd do that. He'd phone me back, say the guys say yes, no worries. Great CV. Kind of thing. So he's happy. And then we go and do that tour, and it was just it's the first tour of 2011, which was called the Rebirth Tour, because at that time Wu-Tang Clan had a reputation that they'd had some serious fallouts. I mean, some of the audience and the fans didn't really know if they were still together, to be honest. We knew they were backstage. And then we had, Wu-Tang had a reputation for no one turning up or turning up late. They're considered to be a handful in the industry in that way, that it's like, oh, Wu-Tang are great, but they bring problems, and it's like, you know, so the rebirth was all about trying to re-establish that actually Wu-Tang proper band. We can hold it together. See you later, mate. And part of my role was to build that confidence among the promoters and the agents that we could actually do a great job. We would come on time, and we would be ready to rock, and we would do a great show. Which, that's what I tried to do, and that's what we achieved. You know, after the first tour, all the promoters were like, "Oh, we can't believe it! It's so easy." You know, talking to somebody that can get shit done and like bring the show properly, and you know, they were very happy. Like the industry side, were very happy. And this was the beginning of the process of rebirthing and not reforming. That's not appropriate, but it's like coming back and uniting the band.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we can do this. And yeah, so 10 years later, they end up in Wembley on an arena tour. You know, that's where we started, and that's where we got to. So that's how I got the job. I still don't know who for sure who said that you got to phone Simon. This has happened to me a number of times. But if you don't, in our industry, it is word of mouth. You know, people say, "Oh, it's who you know." Well, it is in a way, but it's who you know that need you.
Yeah.
And who you can give value to. You know, you can know a million people, it's still not going to help you. You have to bring the value. So where I have advanced in my career, which I've had some significant jumps in it, but it's always been word of mouth. You know, somebody asked somebody, or somebody, you know what I mean? It's I was talking about Pusha T. I did the same thing. I was at Coachella with Duke Dumont, and I get a call from New York, and it's Stephen Victor. Stephen Victor is Pusha T's manager, a legend. You know, Def Jam. He the guy that signed Designer, Panda. You know, the biggest hip hop selling record of all time. You know, This Is Good Music, Kanye West, like Pharrell's team. You know, they're like Rolls Royce. Pusha T is one of my all-time favorite rappers in a way. You know, I would say that I work for him, but yeah, he's a god, no doubt about it. And the people that hang around him are gods, they're proper. And it's like, yeah, Stephen Victor called me, "Hey Simon, I've heard you're a good tour manager." I'm at Coachella, like Adam playing, Duke Dumont playing. So I get this call, what he started, I get a call, and I'm like, I'm just thinking, who the hell are you? You say, "Oh, I'm Pusha T's manager, Stephen Victor." I'm like, then, "Oh, Pusha T, oh my God." And I loved that idea because, like, Pusha T, I knew had rebirthed his own career. You know, he's in a duet called Clips, which is a legendary hip hop act. And anyway, that kind of fell apart slightly. Pusha went into a doldrum, and his thing was, "Can I make it as a solo artist?" So, like, he rebirthed himself. Just before I got that call, I knew of him because I kept hearing his flipping name mentioned all the time, especially in London. You know, people were talking about him, and this, you know, I thought, yeah, I know, this is popping. And anyway, Stephen's like, "We got 7 shows in Europe. Will you come and do them?" I'm like, "I'm working," because at that time I'm freelance. So like Duke Dumont, I wasn't. I was freelance with Duke Dumont at that time. So this means I can do it if I want, but I don't like to let my client down. I just said, "Look, I don't know, to be honest. Send me the dates. I'll see what I can do." He said, "Yeah, I'll send you the dates." He said, "I'll tell you what." He said, where are you?" I said, "I'm Coachella." He's like, "Oh, we're coming to Coachella tomorrow. You know, I'll meet you on the main stage. We'll have a quick coffee. You can meet Pusha, and then we'll sort it all out."
Wow.
So I'm like, okay. But it's like, that didn't happen, actually, because what happened is Duke Dumont stole it on his stage, and the press went crazy. So I was like dealing with his, it's like there was a lot of work to do after Duke appeared. So I call Steve, I say, "I can't come. I'm too busy with press and stuff." He's like, "Oh," "that's a shame." Anyway, it turned out he's on the main stage with Pharrell.
Oh my God.
Pusha T, like, Pharrell brought out Pusha T. You know, small world. crazy. So I missed that. I could have been side stage for Pharrell with Pusha T. I was like, hey, missed that. But it's like as a fan. But yeah, it's so Stephen say, it worked out. I said, like, how'd you get me? And he was talking to a big shot accountant in New York, and she, Mary Lou, her name is. I have to pay her respect. She an accountant for a lot of the top New York hip hop rappers and stuff because people trust her.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? So that's quite a key role, I think. Respect to her. And Stephen's kind of in the office saying, "Oh, we've got to go Europe. We ain't got a tour manager. Oh, I don't know what, I'll have to," because he would have normally phoned Pharrell or Pharrell's manager. I need a tour manager. You've got, because Pharrell got his own scene, production workers or whatever, his own contacts. So Stephen had done that. Pharrell's manager or whoever would have said, "Yeah, I know just the guy," and that would have been it. But he's talking in the office in New York, and Mary Lou say, "You got to find Simon." Simon? Who? Here's his number. He's one of the best. So she recommended me. Now, this top accountant in New York recommending you. Stephen listening, he no idiot. It's like, Mary Lou says he's cool. Like, I'm going to make that call. That's the end of it. So he called me.
Yeah.
I wasn't even in the room. I never sent a CV. I never wrote a proposal, went for an interview. It was like, boom, 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 boom.
It is crazy.
And then I'm working for Pusha too.
Word of mouth. Yeah.
It's interesting with Pusha as well. It's like, because I did the first tour, which, Stephen was brilliant as a manager because he's like, stay in your lane, just what I like. He didn't try to micromanage me one time. In fact, far from it. He's like the opposite. I couldn't get out of him what sort of hotel Pusha liked or what should I do about standard of cars, because I'm hearing Pusha T love his cars, but it's like this mean budget. And, I have to, he's like, "You're tour manager. We'll see you at the airport." He's like, he wouldn't help me. He didn't have time. I respect that. I was like, "Oh, do you want a pink car or a blue car?" These dumb questions. He's like, "Look, it's your job. Get the fuck on with it." So I had to try to understand where the bar was and, get it right. And then it took some settling in time. But it's like, yeah, I did the first tour, and then halfway around, Stephen's the same. He's like, "You're the best tour manager we've ever had." Pusha's you've been around everywhere. It's like, what are you talking about? He's like, "Listen," he said, "I want to promote you. Can you do Asia and Europe?" Because at that time he thought I was European tour manager. He's like, "I'll promote you to Asia and Europe." Halfway around the tour, I'm like, "Yeah, of course I'll do that." Unbeknown to me, he's setting up Australia for Kanye West, but that's another story. But because Americans kind of, when they say Asia, they sometimes mean Australia and Japan. There's a kind of difference. So when he's thinking Asia, I'm thinking Japan. He thinking Australia. But it's So the next tour, then he promote me to world. He say the same thing. He said, like, "You're the best we've ever had. Will you do world?" And it's like, well, I'm like, you must know thousands of people in America. And it's like, "No, Pusha love you. We roll as a team. This is great, the way we're rolling." I say, "Well, you have to pay for me to fly to, say, LA to do one show." I said, "This is crazy. Economics, it's crazy." He's like, "No, your team, it costs what it costs." I did a deal with him because I felt so guilty. Like, I trained up the production manager to do my role for one show. So I'd do the advance and talk to him, and he'd do 2 jobs for one show. And it's like anything more than one show, 2 shows or 3 or whatever, I would go to America. Even though, it's 2-day travel and all of that, and it's not convenient. I can't come in for meetings or whatever. It's cool. It's really cool. So why did I say that? It's because none of this was down to me. It's just third parties, talking amongst themselves. That's the truth of it. And I believe, 99% of my work has been that way. It's been, I didn't even know it was coming. And other people talk about you, and if they say nice things, they call you.
Have you ever sort of felt overwhelmed by workload, sort of,
Oh, yeah, many times.
Going, where do I even start?
No, many times. Many times. Especially, I mean, my worst time in that way was working with what I consider to be A-list clients as a freelancer. So that would be Pusha T, Wu-Tang Clan, and Duke Dumont. And Duke Dumont doing, time I was working with him in that way, we were doing like 9 or 10 shows a month. So plus Pusha, plus Wu-Tang. Very difficult to juggle.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of the time you're doing 3 jobs. And there were days where I went to 2 shows, which was probably silly, but it's like I just couldn't make it fit. So what I used to do is get spare reserve, and sometimes I'd drop a date and put somebody else in, temporary, with the cooperation of the management and they understand that, because most senior artists would pay what's called a retainer. So if you want Simon, you got to pay him a fee every month for him to sit at home and wait, and you only do his stuff. But this costs money. That's called a retainer.
Yeah.
So artists will do that with their sound engineers or special people in their team. But, I can't give you work every day. I'll give you this instead. But then when I call you, you have to come. There's no excuse. It's called retainer. So at that time, I had no retainers. I had 3 major artists as a freelancer, which is flipping challenging, to be honest.
Yeah.
You especially think in the summer when most artists are working. If you're an artist, and you're not working at festivals in the summer season, you might as well resign. Everybody working. So, I've got 3 artists working all through summer.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky with a diary, other time, whatever. It's very difficult. But possible, I did it. And I shouldn't, I held down 3 A-list artists. I'm quite proud of that. But I'm not saying it's easy. Most tour, anyway, we talk about tour managers all day.
I know, we are running out of time, so we're obviously going to ask you about our event, which is coming up, and you're obviously doing a DJ set there. How come you chose to do it on vinyl decks instead of just doing like typical like DJ decks?
Right, so what I'm doing is something I've wanted to do, and I have to say, by inviting me to play, I'm deeply honoured that you would take a chance on me.
We're honoured.
But it's like I've been kind of trying to do an audio-visual set for a few years and not really got round to it, kind of thing. And you've given me the motivation to try this. And the idea is that I would play records as a DJ and also present my photography. So as a concept, I'm working on that, and I don't quite know how it's going to roll, but I'm going to be playing visuals that are associated with the tunes from my archive. So in a way, it's like an audio-visual installation, really, but it's a DJ set. It's not, it's both of those things. So what it looked like is some classic records on vinyl.
I know, I'm so excited.
With photography to go with it.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. And I'm working on it. But it's something I want to do because it's I intend to do this in the future. As a photographer, you have to present your work, okay? And in photography, there's these traditional art ways and, like galleries, I don't know, exhibitions, books, all the rest of it, which of course I do. But I want people to see my work collectively and in a social space. It just appealed to me to make my photography part of the social space.
Yeah.
Like immersive, is that cliche? Sort of immersive environment, which I think the engagement is stronger with the audience. So than flicking through a book, book's different. But it's, so I would like to put this show together with an intent of trying to do a good job and then maybe taking that show up that I could call people and say, look, I've got an hour AV set.
Yeah.
So you're kind of causing me to take that progression. So in a way, I'm using your event as a motivation to do this. And at the end of it, I would like to be holding something that I can move on with, maybe I could get other sets.
Very excited to see it and hear it. And thank you for coming and playing at our event.
It's an honour to work with you.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for taking the time to do this interview today as
No,
well.
I have to say, you know, if this interview's still rolling on the film, if it didn't get on the cutting room floor, it's been a privilege to work with you. You're very professional. You know, I know your age. We won't talk about all that, but the way you've dealt with this show and the development of it is very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much for helping us out and working with us as well.
No, you're the future of our industry, and it's cool to see such strength.
Oh, thank you.
It's good for me to see that you're coming through. Come on. The sooner the better.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.